Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I wanted to start by showing you this. This is a Zach Rector tweet. Apparently he interviewed Lynette Zhang, who we love on this channel because she's a gold bug, but she talks a lot about gold as it relates to the economy now, and talks a lot about the BRICS and all the different stuff that's going on around the world that has everything to do with this changeover of the financial system. And he interviewed her, and she dropped a $40,000, I guess, gold prediction bomb.
So I can tell you, because I just crunched these numbers last week, it's over $40,000 an ounce. Now you might, okay, perfect reaction.
All right. So she's calling for a $40,000 an ounce gold. Now, I've got more interesting news. I talked to Brad Combs yesterday, and look who's coming to XRP Las Vegas. He just added Lynette Zhang as a speaker. How smart is this? To add gold people to the XRP Las Vegas lineup. This will really make for some interesting discussions on those stages. Because make no mistake, gold has everything to do with crypto, folks. There's a reason Bitcoin hatches out of the financial crisis, and for the next X number of years, Bitcoin is this, quote, libertarian movement. It's literally written into the code, almost as if it's for the purpose of sending money away from physical gold. She's going to be there at XRP Las Vegas now. They've sold out all of VIP. They're starting to eat away at the rest of general admission. If you're thinking about going, you better go ahead and do it. I actually was on the phone with my father, who is the official father of the Digital Asset Investor channel, yesterday, and we were working out his arrangements. He's going to come with his girlfriend. His girlfriend's excited. She wants to come too. So that'll be fun too. Dad's getting old, and I had to help him out a little bit. I'm getting old too, God. Okay, and then remember, we're having Meta Lawman. He's going to be there too. And they also, by the way, the Brad Garlinghouse dinner, that's the private benefit dinner that Chamber of Digital Commerce is doing. That the sales on that, I heard, have been going on too, and I'm trying to get my dad to go to that too, because I'm going to be there. But I know they decreased their prices, but I'm gonna check on all of that. The links to all this are in the description. If you're in DAIXRP.com, my private group, then there's a discount link in there. I'll repost it. I try to repost it every now and then. Now, check this out from ITM Trading on the BRICS.
You don't need a reserve currency to store money. There's a million things. You can store it in a basket. I can sell you something in Zimbabwe dollars. A microsecond later, convert them to Japanese yen. So you don't need this big pile of dollars everywhere. And people are talking about the BRICS and how, that'll be a stupid currency. That'll never get liked. The BRICS is not about a currency. I don't think the people who talk about the BRICS and currency have it right. The BRICS is about a fundamental shift in alliances in the world. You've got 20 countries, including Arabs, saying, we're going to go with Russia and China.
You take the BRICS seriously.
That is a fundamental.
You're watching them and saying they mean business.
Well, not just that. There are 20 countries saying we're not aligning with the United States now. We're aligning with Russia, China, right? India.
Yeah.
This is a revolt.
Yes, sir, it is. Look at Dark Defender. We've had XRP 2 days in a row go over 60 cents. And so Dark Defender's talking about it. Today's March 1. XRP closed the monthly by breaking the orange. We target 64 cents and hit 62, but this is insufficient. MACD bullish. I don't even know what that stands for. Bullish to continue towards those clouds, targeting $1 first, then $1.88 at the Fibonacci level. XRP will bend the spoon above 188. I have no idea what that means, but I like the sound of it. Kathy Wood had a great clip right here. Watch this.
We're not finished. And in fact, in our business, what's interesting is the wirehouses, which dominate our customers. So Morgan Stanley, all the advisors at these wirehouses, Morgan Stanley, UBS, Merrill Lynch at B of A, Wells Fargo, not one of them has approved Bitcoin on its platform. That hasn't even happened yet. And those are our primary clients. When that happens, wait until you see.
Explosion.
Yeah. Wait till you see. I'm ready. Here come the banks. Bank of America's Merrill, Wells Fargo offer Bitcoin ETFs to clients now. I forgot to put it in my lineup, but the Vanguard CEO Vanguard had said that they won't provide the Bitcoin ETFs, and the Vanguard CEO, I think he resigned yesterday. Now, all we've been seeing is Elizabeth Warren going around talking about how worried she is about crypto and money laundering and people using mixers and all this stuff. She always invokes Russia. She never invokes Ukraine. She'll never say FTX, and she'll never say Ethereum. Neither will Gary, her toady. So I decided that I would put together a video because she needs to know. Here's what I told her. Great news, Elizabeth Warren. Senator Warren, you were 1,000% correct about bad guys in crypto. They're money laundering, Russia, using mixers to hide money. We have it all. Whistleblower alert.
3/4.
Call Gary. Call Hester Pierce. Haul the Ethereum founders, Joseph Lubin and Vitalik Buterin, in front of Congress. Find out. Get Jamie Dimon to sit there too with them. Because JP Morgan was working with them from the very beginning before they even launched. Don't take my word for it. Watch this video.
About 3/4 of the money collected in ransomware attacks last year went to Russia-linked actors. The Russians certainly know how to run illegal scams through crypto.
A person can buy from any number of different identities. We may limit the size, the unit size of a sale, just to make it easier to disguise. Let's say if you're a whale and you want some privacy, you can buy 50,000 units, and so nobody scares people with an enormous initial purchase. So if you are a whale, if you want to plan on investing several million US dollars worth, then you can do that for multiple identities. We will ask for a real-world identity in the form of email address, just so that we can make sure that everything works smoothly all the way through the process. But we won't be required. So we can create a pseudonymous email and identity and actually purchase them.
Just last week, FinCEN, the federal agency responsible for identifying financial crimes, issued a warning that in light of the sanctions against Russia, quote, sanctioned persons, illicit actors, and their related networks or facilitators may attempt to use crypto and anonymizing tools to evade U.S. sanctions and protect their assets around the globe, end quote.
But then the second and more critical part is called a mixing service. Basically, what mixing services are is they're services where you put in a certain number of bitcoins and then you give them one of your other addresses that you've never used before, and then within a few hours or so, and in a few chunks, that's the service basically spits the same amount of bitcoins back out again. So the reason why you'd want to use that is because, from looking from an outside point of view, there's no obvious link between the bitcoins that go in and the bitcoins that go out.
Mr. Levin, let's consider one of Putin's cronies who already has $1 billion or so in crypto.
The consensus has been very prominent since the start of the Ethereum ecosystem. I can attest that JP Morgan was there right from the start before public mainnet was even launched.
That he wants to hide from the governments that are enforcing sanctions on oligarchs. Now, can this oligarch make it harder to trace his money if he hops from one blockchain to another, if he deposits those tokens into a couple of wallets that don't require him to provide identifying information, and if he uses a mixing service that launders his money with other people's money?
No, the most popular mixing service is run by blockchain.info. It charges a 0.5% fee, but really you can use almost anything as a mixing service. You can use exchanges. You can use various kinds of online wallets. And basically, if you sort of chain many of them together, then really there's no single person in the world that will be able to figure out the trail between the Bitcoins that you received and where you're trying to...
Tried. Not in a million years. They sued Ripple. These guys did everything right. These guys did not just everything wrong, but everything shady. And then they talked about it on video. It's not my words, it's their words. And they're left untouched by Elizabeth Warren and the SEC and her toady Gary Gensler. They don't touch them. Gary won't even talk about Ethereum. He won't even tell you if it's a security or not. Well, Congress is doing whatever their version is of trying to hold him accountable. This was all yesterday. Here's a little clip from Tom Emmer. None of them, by the way, Tom Emmer, Patrick McHenry, none of them have subpoenaed Gary Gensler. None of them have done anything other than things that, from what looks like, they don't really matter, aren't going to matter in any significant way, but they're doing all the things necessary to make it look like they're doing things.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to strike the last word. The SEC's Staff Accounting Bulletin 121, or SAB 121, is one data point of many at this point, demonstrating both Chair Gensler's insistence on overstepping the SEC's authorities and his unrelenting prejudice toward the digital asset ecosystem. The SEC disguised this overreaching rule as guidance, circumventing Congress and public input. It did it so it could lock banks out of the ability to custody digital assets. The impact of this illegal rulemaking that's been in place nearly 2 years? Well, first, SAB 121 introduces more unnecessary and avoidable concentration risk into the digital asset ecosystem, making our markets not fair, not orderly, and not efficient. The Bitcoin ETFs are a great example. Not a single bank provides the custodial services for any of the 11 approved ETFs. This is risky. Second, SAB 121 weakens investor protection standards by forcing crypto users to rely on less regulated and less well-capitalized institutions for custody instead of using the established bank infrastructure. And
see, now, what if you're not figuring it out by now? It's been intentional that they've not provided, that Gary Gensler and all his friends have prevented in their rulemaking from there being retail custody. They could do, they have the setup and the technology. It's already been done. If they can do custody for institutions, they could do it for retail. Years ago they could do it, but they've intentionally made it so that retail does not have an option. Gary rigged that game for Wall Street, so that you'd have to go into ETFs unless you wanted to be out here. And now they got Elizabeth Warren trying to, you can't have your own wallet and all that stuff. And that's for a very specific purpose. It's to make sure that Wall Street gets all the money, because they all know what's going to happen with this industry. Now, in DAIXRP.com, I saw an interesting clip going around today, and it just reminded me to bring up something that I haven't talked about in a while. How do people get rich? How do they get rich? I think that topic is, I think the way that financial advisors and all talk about all of that is, I guess they do the right thing by what they do, but there's a difference between preserving your wealth and conservatively growing to retirement and getting rich. I want to talk about how do people get rich. I mean, I've studied a lot of people that have gotten wealthy and all, but how do they get rich? There's a very specific way. It's not a big mystery. I'm going to talk about that in DAIXRP.com. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe. Hit the like button. Tell your friends and family. We're going to go in DAIXRP.com and talk about how people get rich. All right.